I paint, you watch. I talk, you listen. What could be easier than that? Welcome back to the Mind of Watercolor, everybody. I want to try out a new format on you today. Give you a chance to see what I'm working on, work on a little bit, give you some insights into what I'm thinking as I work, and maybe some tips and techniques along the way, and just a few insights into my style and why I work the way I do. So I hope this will be a popular format. If so, we'll do some more of it down the line. So let's get started. So if you saw my video on fear of the blank page, fear of a white page, you saw me start this painting. Mostly washes at the top and washes covering the column base and the base. Now all I'm doing is filling in some more additional washes at the bottom. All these are wet and wet washes. There I'm just adding a little tone to the base, but I like to keep these background washes, ones around and receding into the background, a little bit loose, and just save my highly rendered detail for something else. In this case, it's going to be on the vines themselves. This is pretty characteristic of my style. I have a pretty tight rendering style, at least in some areas, but I love including really loose areas, which is one of the reasons I like watercolor. It's also the reason I like vignettes. I think leaving white vignettes around a subject just really shows off the character of watercolor. You know, we're getting into that mind of watercolor idea where we let watercolor do some of the work, do some of the rendering, and add some of the character. But again, here, just lots of little tiny wet in wet washes. They disperse and get soft and almost tend to render some of that foliage and background texture all by itself. Just adding another little wet and wet wash over to the left. I thought I needed something over here, kind of a bluish. I'm just holding it level so it won't run down to the bottom. I wanted it to kind of either sit and disperse or run out to the side. And now I'm just lifting water to control where the pigment is flowing. This is a Hogs bristle brush, just like you would use for oil. I'm just lifting here, just lifting a little bit of pigment. It's a great lifter. It's a little stiffer than a regular watercolor brush, but not as aggressive as a scrubber. So we'll get into scrubbing and lifting, hopefully in a dedicated episode. Just adding some background, darker background vines that are going to appear to be coming from behind the masked ones. Made a classic mistake on the masking on this, and I wanted to show you just this painting here will show you just how important masking is. If you saw my last episode that I did on masking, I did that episode because masking is so important, and this painting could not have the effects that I want it to have, the light modeling and shaping that I'll eventually bring to the vines without masking it off and protecting. I mean, painting around every one of those vines would be impossible. Same with some of the little leaves. But I made a classic error. I left this mask on for about 2 months, and it became devilishly hard to get off. So I violated my own rule, and that's a standard rule with masking fluid. Don't leave it on more than a few days. Just I'm blending here. Now the mask's been lifted. I'm blending out the white areas into the darker wash so that there's not a line, a distinct line. Just doing flat washes now. And now this is going to skip pretty quickly, because what you see here to the end represents literally hours of work. See, there's a big skip. You can see I'm just doing a basic flat wash here. But all I do here is I just go through a long process of adjusting values, punching back shadows, letting lighter value shadows come forward. What I'm doing here is what I call a white blend, for lack of a better term. It's one of the techniques I use in these rendering. I'll use this white blend, I'll use the little flat washes, and I'll use dry brush. And those three techniques is what I'll spend hours doing passes on these vines. And I'll do several transparent glaze passes on this, probably dozens and dozens before it's all done. Again, I'm just punching back shadows around the column. I'm just using simple flat washes there. I go gradually. With the glazes, it's just, you know, easy to adjust and sit back and evaluate. Here, just painting in the leaves that have been masked, and that white just makes them pop. And you can't do this without mask unless you use an opaque paint afterwards, like gouache. It doesn't have the same look. Same at the bottom. It's a very satisfying process to me. I like working on detail when I like adjusting the light modeling and going back and assessing it and adjusting again. Again, just very simple little flat washes. I'm reaching over to the right, wiping my brush and coming back and blending. So it's a very simple wash white blend. And I hope to, in a future episode, detail and teach you how to do that. It's real simple. This is almost like pencil drawing, a pencil rendering. Is just where you, and then when you've wiped it and you start blending, you still have a little paint left in your brush, and you can start dry brushing. Here's a few more passes later yet, and you can see how the shadows and the contrast are deepening. But you can take that dry brush, a little bit of paint that's left, and rub it off almost like you're shading with a pencil. If you can draw with a pencil, you can paint with watercolor, I'm telling you. It's just knowing the right techniques. You know how to shade and render. It's easy, and this is really, really fun. I'll keep blending those top values in and adjusting it till it's done. Well, that's it for the painting, guys. It's just a lot of fun. I hope you'll try some of that. There's about as many ways to render in watercolor as there are watercolor artists out there. So get out and try something. Tell them, Quinn.
If anything creative just pops into your head, just get a chair, sit down, and get a piece of paper and just do some art.
That's right. This is my granddaughter Quinn, and I couldn't have said it any better myself. Guys, so glad you're with me. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel and like the video if this has been a help to you. And we'll see you next time. Right, Quinn?
Bye.
Bye.